the new form of a service providers, if you are a legal historian. And also, you will have poise and balance, since it did not alter any foundation of documents or materials. Convenience and structure would be served from this development in other substantial area and concern. You will see decencies perhaps embedded. So, what actually it is a formal presentation in our sensibility is also how they classify the substances and sources. And that kind of concern, as you suppose, would be dealt in the copyright law, for example, intellectual property right. What actually is what the scope of legal protection when we think about intellectual property. So, and also one article entitled "Pajama Way of Research." The author is Mary Wissner from law school, University of Washington Law School, and he also pointed out the attitude of students or legal research. So the adequacy and style of research activity could be typified in the word pajama. So pajama way of research is titled. So this means, of course, the researcher would stay basically at home to spend all his time and effort, make efforts on the sources provided electronically. So quite convenient, but in librarians' perception, it will lack. And the adequacy question. So his suggestion is to promote himself, to interact with other students, and often toil through bookshelves and find pages in paperback version of materials, historic documents in some cases. The kind of realistic interaction and access to the legal materials would enhance your research purpose and the kind of most adequate dealings to serve you or facilitate your research operation. The reasons may be diverse, and for many contexts of research, realistically. So his experience is fairly accurate, since his experienced librarian, 20 years and others. So he is very accustomed to 3 years of law student law school years, and why they were very sanguine to respond with a first year assignment, a research assignment. So very active to visit the law libraries and ask librarians for help and seek out their expertise to they assist with the assignment. The kind of boom would stop there. So he questioned why they do not proceed as in the first year. What has told them to be insipid or commonplace as lawyers, so they would be more knowledgeable about the year's promotion in law school, first year, second, third year. They could be complex or dull in some cases. So refresh yourself as a researcher. That is the point. And that is also kind of ethics or kind of standard practice if you are serving law firms like this. So the learning as lifetime experience, the concept is applicable to not only to the law students, but also legal practitioners, lawyers, judges. So be promoted to be active, to interact with peers, students. And here's one advice is to consult your friends. So why do you look this material? And what information is useful from this source? Solitude will not be a goodness in his perception. So interesting. And we will further on this point in Thursday class. In this class, we also consider, as I've introduced, some final stage of research operation. So we have spent weeks about type of legal sources, primary sources, second sources, constitutional, legislative materials, and administratives, federal, state, local context of laws have been explored as pertains to legal research. So I make some short demonstrations if cases are in need. And what our final thought to articulate our frame, bringing it all together, strategies for research and determining when you are finished. So you will have time constraints, budgetary constraints. You are working for law firm, and you are working on the basis of time charges. So time is money. So budgetary restraint and time constraint would mean the same if you are a professional lawyer now in research activities. So how to save the time for same extent of research is speaking of your skills and competence as a lawyer. So that is primary point, but triggered in this class as and to equip you with kind of sources and the ways to approach and some wisdom to produce any most effective outcomes in your research plan have been solved. How do you consider? So we now will see some stages in our concern and initial assessment of problem areas. Let me deliver the printout for your review. process of copy. In this time, it is short. One student missing. You didn't receive this printout. Raise your hand. Or is it ready to have this? Okay, that's fine. If not, I'll give you this one. So, let us see. So we now like to see some capstone for the research process. We'll review the planning and strategizing required for research. We'll give you additional hints on how to use the fee-based research services and free internet sources effectively and efficiently. And we'll discuss research plans for when you have less than an infinite amount of time to complete your research and record your results. Lastly, we will give you some practical points on how to determine when you are finished with a given research project. We begin with summary of the research strategy first, including the stages of planning for research and the execution of the plan. So, initial assessment is very important as you conjecture, since it orients the structure of research and would allow you to about some research plans and issues, especially in this discipline. Since it is important. Of course, it could be changed or adjusted on the progress of your research operation. Nonetheless, the initial assessment is very governing to the end result of research. So, make your focus more intensely to be concerned of initial assessment and problem. So your first job is to assess the problem, so as to identify the issue, the specific legal question that need to be answered, and then to determine if additional facts are needed from the client or other sources, and finally to put together a plan of action to find the legal resources necessary to answer the questions. So, let us assume some steps. What is at issue? So, legal research is related with issue spotting, as I said. The kind of alternatives in ideas with research questions in other disciplines. You may have an idea about which areas of law are implicated by the problem. This sounds like a fraud case, or this is probably a copyright case, but you often will not necessarily know enough about these areas. And therefore, fundamental background principles, claims, defense, policies to be able to determine the specific legal questions you will need to answer. You may not even know the general areas of the law implicated by the problem. Assuming the assigning attorney or client cannot shed any light on this, you will need to do initial background research into the appropriate area of law. So, now you think about background research into the area of law. When you have a background resource, you're ready to answer the following questions. What are major issues in this area of law, both old and new? What are the kinds of claims, injuries, damages, causes of action, or defenses that are brought or claimed or asserted in this area? And thirdly, what constitutional issues are implicated, if any? And fourth, are there statute, rules, or administrative regulations that typically are found in this area? The information to be found in a dictionary or encyclopedia may help you get your feedback. But you may exhaust what they have to say on your matter without determining the actual issues that are implicated by your facts. You have to go deeper to homebooks, treatises, and practice guides. So they're complex and in some cases might feel convoluted to be lost on materials. So then it is one strategy to keep yourself from the scope of materials. So may articulate your research plan from some pickup or perhaps one major article in that area of law. Then you can be equipped to respond with your complexities. So second source is kind of major law review article who help you shape the scope of primary sources, case laws, cases, and statutes. Since you will have footnotes provided by authors, often the kind of article would be ordered and structured to collect most insightful and meaningful cases. So one advice to explore a major law review article. At the end of your crash course in area of law, you need to be able to return to your set of facts and determine the specific questions